When we picture burnout, we usually imagine a spectacular crash, someone pushing themselves to the absolute limit until their mind and body just give out. A total visible collapse where the gears snap and everything grinds to a halt. But for highly capable people, burnout rarely looks like that. On the outside, everything appears to be running smoothly. You are hitting your deadlines, checking off the to-do list, and operating at peak productivity. Our culture trains us to look for that visible breakdown as the only valid metric for exhaustion. If you haven't collapsed, society assumes you must be fine, and that creates a dangerous blind spot. We start missing the quiet alarms going off inside our own heads. We write off deep systemic depletion as nothing more than a rough week, telling ourselves we just need to push through until the weekend. Being highly capable does not protect you from burnout. In many cases, it provides the perfect camouflage for an internal system failure. The first silent alarm usually sounds when someone asks for a favor. You take on the extra project. You say yes to the weekend. The agreement feels almost automatic. Everyone else sees a fiercely reliable team player. But the second you agree to the request, you feel a wave of intense, boiling resentment at the person who asked and at yourself for taking it on. We tend to judge that anger as a character flaw, but that resentment is actually a psychological check engine light. It is your brain trying to warn you that a personal boundary has been breached, and that breached boundary feeds directly into a frustrating illusion of progress. You can cross 20 things off your list today, but the relief you expect to feel from getting them done never actually arrives. You finish a difficult assignment, and instead of taking a breath, your mind immediately sprints toward the very next demand. The list shrinks, but the pressure stays exactly the same. This is what psychologists call chronic activation. As you can see in this loop, it is a biological state where your external success entirely bypasses the internal off switch. When your brain decouples the act of finishing a task from the feeling of psychological relief, your system gets trapped in an infinite loop of stress. You are constantly burning fuel, but never refueling. That unending loop of stress eventually spills over into your physical recovery cycle, and the first casualty is almost always your sleep routine. You might actually be getting the recommended 8 or 9 hours a night, but when the alarm rings, your limbs feel heavy, your brain is foggy, and you wake up feeling entirely exhausted. This diagram illustrates the biological cause. Your nervous system has an active zone and a parasympathetic recovery zone, the state required for actual rest. In high-functioning burnout, your body is physically blocked from crossing that threshold into recovery, no matter how much time passes on the clock. Because you never drop into that deep, reparative state, sleep stops feeling like a restorative process. Instead, laying in bed just becomes another exhausting task your body is forced to execute. Without biological access to that parasympathetic state, the hours you spend resting yield absolutely zero systemic recovery. Running a high-performance engine with zero recovery creates a very specific behavioral toll. You notice it when you sit down for your favorite hobby or meet up with a friend who always makes you laugh, and everything just feels flat. Anhedonia represents a protective shutdown where the brain deactivates non-essential emotional functions to conserve its remaining energy. You are going through the motions because the system is prioritizing survival over pleasure, and that repressed frustration has to go somewhere. You hold your professional composure together all day at work, and then you come home and snap at your partner over a misplaced pair of shoes. It is a phenomenon known as the leak. That leak almost always shows up in our closest relationships first. You let the mask slip at home because your subconscious knows that is the only environment safe enough for you to finally fail. If any of this sounds familiar, we need to redefine what you are going through. True burnout is a failure of internal recovery. It is completely divorced from your outward productivity metrics. You cannot out-achieve this condition. You cannot buy a new planner and over-organize your way out. Because your nervous system is trapped in a biological loop, fixing this through sheer willpower is impossible. The intervention requires dropping the facade. The mask has to come off, and that means externalizing this hidden struggle to a qualified third party who can help you reset your nervous system. Residents of Georgia can access specialized care through coping and healing counseling, a telehealth practice utilizing over 15 licensed therapists to provide HIPAA-compliant support across every county in the state. They maintain a diverse team of LCSWs, LPCs, and LMFTs who specialize directly in treating high-functioning burnout. Their services are designed for accessibility, offering $0 copay options for those on Medicaid, and typical sessions between $30 and $40 for patients with Aetna, Cigna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, and Humana. Recognizing these silent signs allows for a targeted intervention. It is the only reliable way to stop an invisible collapse before it becomes a visible one.